Hey guys, this is going to be a review on theUltimate Survival Technologies Blastmatch. It's basically an outdoor fire starter. It's made from plastic. It has a plastic body, cap, a carbide striker that's underneath this striker tab, and a very large ferrocerium rod that's connected to a spring that plunges inside and out of the body automatically. How you use this is you place the tip on the surface that you want to strike on. With some downward pressure, you push down on this striker tab and you plunge in. This carbide striker will basically scrape along this length of ferro rod and generate a huge shower of sparks. This ferro rod, like other ferro rods, has the same advantages that it's waterproof. Basically, if you drop it in water, all you have to do is wipe down the surface and it'll just start generating sparks again. Unlike lighters, if you drop a Zippo in water, water will get absorbed inside the cotton that's in the insert and it won't light anymore just because the fuel is so diluted. You can drop Bics in water and you get them to light, but it takes some effort because the flint assembly is internal and it's really hard to get that part dry. But once you do get it dry, then the lighter will start lighting again. With a ferro rod this large, you basically have a lifetime worth of fires. For the average person anyway. I don't live out in the bush indefinitely, so I don't use it as often as, indigenous people might use it, like on an everyday basis. But I think because of the size of the ferro rod, it definitely justifies the price. You can basically find it for around $20. I think retail is around $24, so you could probably even find it as low as $15 if you look really hard. I mean, even if you compare it to like the Light My Fire steels, which are nowhere near as large of a rod as this, you still pay around $10, $15, and you don't get the one-handed operation that you do with this, which I think is one of the biggest reasons why I like it so much. People say you can use regular fire steels one-handed, but basically you're using two hands or a hand and a foot. Like, I've seen videos where it's pretty ingenious. They put their knife on a log so it's raised above the ground, and then they'll scrape the fire steel up against the spine of the blade. And yeah, I guess that's one-handed operation, but that's kind of one hand and one leg operation. With this, basically, it's really one-hand operation. I can easily open it one-handed, and then to strike it, all I have to do is push down against the ground. Or actually what Ultimate Survival Technology says is you could push down on this striker and then plunge down the ferro rod with your index finger. It's not something I like to do just because it does generate a huge shower of sparks and you could kind of scorch yourself like that. If I'm trying to light a fire on a surface that isn't hard, like it's wet dirt, I'll basically put a piece of wood down on the surface first and then plunge the ferro rod against that. The bad things about this is that it is pretty big. It's about 4 inches closed and weighs only around 3 ounces. But really, this can fit in your pocket because I don't really carry this every day, so it's not really an issue for me. With every day, if I need a fire, then I carry a lighter that's much smaller and more compact than this. One thing I don't like about it is that if you look at the orange model, which is see-through, you can see that there's a lot of empty space in here, and I think they could have made this less oval and more round, more circular, and it could cut down on a lot of space, and really it would just still be as durable. But I mean, this size isn't that bad. I mean, it fits in the pocket fine. It's smaller than, a lot of folding knives, in fact. Another bad thing I guess people bring up all the time is that it's more complexity, and you have Murphy's Law where since it's so complex, it has a greater chance of being broken, I suppose. I don't think that's that big of a deal. Like, people say, oh, what if mud gets in that assembly and the ferro rod won't come out? But I mean, really, that's what the cap's there for. It keeps the ferro rod plunged in, but it protects it from mud and general dust and debris getting in. Like, if a little gets in, there's plenty of wiggle room between the ferro rod and the sides of this cavity that even if some stuff gets in, it'll still plunge in and out. And if you lose the carbide striker and if it falls out and you lose it, you can still use this like a regular ferro rod. Just use a knife blade or whatever striker you have and just scrape it against here, and it works out fine. You know, sometimes I don't really want to plunge it because the dirt's soft and I don't want to deal with cleaning stuff off the ferro rod. I'll just use the spine of my knife blade to strike it. One thing you have to be careful about when you're using this is that it does go in pretty deep. Like, you see it goes almost all the way, so you have to watch out, like, to make sure you keep your thumb finger well below the level of this tab, because I've had instances where I'll just use the bony part of my thumb to press down, and when I plunge in, my thumb will actually hit the hard ground, and it's not pleasant, but it's just something you just have to look out for, I suppose. You don't even have to plunge it in all the way. Generally, I just plunge it halfway, and it's more than enough sparks to light whatever tinder I'm trying to light. What's really popular now is those mesh metal ferro rods, and I don't think that they're really that necessary. They're very peculiar and picky about what technique you use to strike them, as well as what speed, what kind of pressure you use against it, and also what you use to strike it with. With regular ferro rods, it's very simple. Any sharp edge will do, and that's what I like about it. The sparks might not be that hot. I mean, I might not be able to strike sparks at waist height and light tinder that's on the ground, but it's okay. Like, that's not something I really have to do. When I've used ferro rods in the past that were made from the mesh metal type, I like to generally keep my ferro rod right next to my tinder, and when I strike it, I won't get any sparks, and since I have to use so much force with it, I'll just knock all my tinder away. With this, you know, light pressure, you don't even have to use super heavy pressure, and you'll get a good shower of sparks. So, I mean, I think this is probably my favorite method of fire starting out in the wilderness. The spark lights are one-handed as well, and they're pretty good, but they don't generate nearly as many sparks as this thing that can, although they do have it in a much smaller package, which is convenient. With this, you could have dry wood on a sunny day, and you could just feather a twig, and you could just strike this a few times, and it'll light that twig right up, where the spark light won't be able to do that. You'll have to use some sort of prepared tinder that's really dry and fluffy, like their spark tabs that they sell, which are really expensive for just cotton. I like this more than the Solar Force because the Solar Force does cost around the same, and it also has a large ferro rod, but it is two-handed operation, and it's a much larger package because the ferro rod doesn't store inside the handle, so it also weighs more because there's also more plastic. Overall, you know, this is my favorite way, and not everyone agrees with it, but I've had this for years, and it's been really reliable, and I don't see myself changing what I use in the field anytime soon. For $20, you know, and you get several years out of it, you know, a lifetime. It's worth the money, and definitely it's something that people should really consider adding to their kits, even if they just prefer to use lighters to light their fires. Alright, that's the end of this review, guys. Thanks for watching.